Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
A big change from just 24 hours ago. Tonight, the local forecasters with our first freeze warning of the season.
No debate tonight, but still some fireworks with both presidential candidates speaking to voters at the same time in dueling town halls.
Pregnant and scared. Tonight, we're hearing from the Macomb County woman who had her throat slashed in a police department parking lot as she tried to file a personal protection order against her ex-boyfriend.
Let's begin with breaking news tonight, just in from Detroit's west side, where there is a large police presence after shots are fired at a police cruiser.
Let's get right to Jason Colthorpe. And Jason, there are multiple scenes here.
Yeah, we have 3 scenes, Kim, and a large police presence is an understatement. Guys, take a look behind me. We have dozens of marked and unmarked Detroit police cars. We are at the 3rd scene. We'll get to the other 2 in a moment. There's also MSP vehicles out here. What we have at this scene is a barricaded gunman around the corner on Robeson, a home just around the corner. But this all began 2 hours ago. Let me show you some video of the first scene. Around 9 o'clock, an undercover car working with the Auto Theft Task Force was doing some investigating. Was checking on a white Dodge Charger with improper plates and also a Jeep Grand Cherokee when suddenly occupants in both of those vehicles started firing with an assault rifle at that undercover police car. No officers were hit, nor did they return fire, but they did track those vehicles and to a second location, and then now to this one here. And this is where they are working on at least a barricaded gunman situation. We are waiting for an update from a captain here out on the scene. However, we can confirm through police sources 4 people are in custody, but police obviously still have some work to do, and they're ready to go the length of the night to do it. The mobile command center has been on scene here, so that's usually a sign that they're ready to be here for the long haul. We'll have any updates if they occur during this newscast. We're live on the west side. Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
You got it all right, Jason. Tonight, U.S. Marshals are on the lookout for this man, Kevin Vanist. He's accused of slashing the throat of his ex-girlfriend, who is also pregnant, and she is now trying to recover from the attack. She spoke with our Mara McDonald live at Clinton Township at the police department tonight. Mara, this attack happened in the parking lot right there.
It sure did, Devin, last Friday. And she says that as this whole thing was happening to her, it was almost like having an out-of-body experience. Take a look. We aren't identifying the victim in this case, but we did speak with her on the phone tonight. She's 5 months pregnant with her attacker's child.
He sent me a threatening email threatening to shoot my whole family.
That email coming from her former boyfriend, Kevin Van Aist.
Probably the last 2 weeks, I would say, is when I was really getting scared. Because he came to my house and knocked on my window, and that scared me to death. And he was screaming and yelling, saying that he was going to come for me and for my family.
She got a PPO against him, tried to file it at the Macomb County Sheriff's Department, who told her to take it to the Clinton Township Police Department. So they had the paperwork. She pulled into the parking lot when he appeared in his black truck.
Then he whipped my car door open, and I was like an out-of-body experience from there. I remember the cutting motions from my right to my left because he came in for my driver's side door. I remember him saying something along the line like, "I told you I would do this." I remember seeing blood.
He had cut her throat, and when she started pounding on the horn, he took off. She ran into the police department for help. She has 7 stitches in her neck and multiple cuts on her arms and head. She's now in hiding, and the U.S. Marshals are on the street trying to find him.
I'm terrified. I am so terrified that he's coming back to finish me off or hurt someone in my family or his own.
Back here live, she tells me that he has had an increasing substance abuse problem over the last several weeks. She is worried for his mental health, as well as what substances he could be taking. U.S. Marshals are looking for him. If you know where he is, if you've seen that truck, they would like to hear from you. We're live in Clinton Township tonight. I'm Mara McDonald. Back to you.
Once again, a mental health issue may play at the center of this. All right, Mara. Well, for the first time, the state is reporting 2,000 new cases of COVID-19 in a single day.
While the state reported 2,030 new cases, shortly after releasing the numbers, the state put out more information saying due to a slowdown in processing, some of yesterday's numbers might have been added to today's total. But if you average out the past 2 days, the case count is still significantly higher compared to just last week.
We've been watching Michigan's numbers on an uptrend for a while now, and unfortunately, this is probably the opening of a second wave. Right now, the increase is being driven mainly by the UP and the west side of the state, but everyone in every region should be prepared to see more cases eventually, especially if we don't learn the lesson from the spring and keep the curve flat before it needs to be flattened by another shutdown. I cannot say it enough. Masks, distance, hand washing, and do not let your guard down, even among people you know.
Well, across the country, coronavirus cases today surpassed 8 million, with more than 218,000 Americans dead from the virus.
Andrew in for Ben tonight with a freeze warning overnight for all of Metro Detroit.
Yeah, big swing from just 24 hours ago, Andrew.
Oh, you've got that right. I mean, temperatures today barely broke 50 degrees in many spots. And now we have that colder air rushing in. Fortunately, it is getting drier, but we are talking about the freeze warning up for Detroit and all of southeast Michigan, from Motown into the Thumb, out toward Ann Arbor, Livingston County, and down to the Ohio border. So make sure your pets are back indoors. Potted plants, if you still have them, they used to be outdoors, bring them indoors as well. Temperatures right now mostly in the 40s. Chilly out there with 46 over in Pontiac, 47 at Metro Airport, 44 in Monroe. Still a good looking night. Look at that. Metro Detroit bathed in pink. It is still Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the month of October, with 47 degrees over at Metro Airport and wind at around 8 miles per hour. Good looking visibility. But temperatures continue to plummet, down to around freezing or just a bit above. Don't be surprised by some frost in the morning. And always be careful with space heaters if you're trying to be warm tonight. We'll talk more about this, where temperatures go from here for Friday afternoon, and of course, the all-important weekend. That and your 7-day forecast in minutes.
Okay, Andrew, the latest person to be charged in the domestic terror plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer is a man from Wisconsin. Attorney General Dana Nessel identified him as 51-year-old Brian Higgins. He faces a state charge of material support of an act of terrorism. Higgins is accused of providing his night vision goggles to assist in surveying the governor's vacation home. 13 other men face state or federal charges in connection with the alleged plot. 5 of those charged at the federal level have hearings tomorrow in Grand Rapids. In Decision 2020, on a night we were supposed to have the second presidential debate, it turned into dueling town halls.
Alice Barr has a look at tonight's highlights.
With President Donald Trump.
A socially distanced showdown tonight with the 2 presidential candidates answering voters' questions in simultaneous town halls with very different tones. On stage in Miami, President Trump often arguing in fiery exchanges with NBC News' Savannah Guthrie. Joe Biden taking a softer approach in Philadelphia on ABC News with George Stephanopoulos. The pandemic shaping the format and dominating the conversation as coronavirus cases are on the rise again across the country.
It is a presidential responsibility to lead, and he didn't do that. He didn't talk about what needed to be done because he kept worrying, in my view, about the stock market.
And we have done an amazing job, and it's rounding the corner, and we have the vaccines coming and we have the therapies coming.
The president 2 weeks out from his COVID diagnosis, on defense over when he caught it and whether he took a required test before the last presidential debate.
And you don't know if you took a test the day of the debate.
Possibly I did, possibly I didn't. But
questions from the audience zeroing in on the economy with millions of Americans still out of work.
We've given you the greatest tax cut in the history of our country, greatest regulation cut, equally as important, and we created new levels of jobs that nobody thought was possible. And next year is going to be better than ever before.
I will create 18.6 million new jobs, good paying jobs, number one. Number two, and I'll increase, the GDP will grow by $1 trillion more than it would under Trump, and 7 million more jobs than under Trump.
President Trump, for the first time, committing to a peaceful transfer of power if he were to lose, while still casting doubt on the election results.
Will you accept a peaceful transfer? And the answer is yes, I will. But I want it to be an honest election, and so does everybody else.
The two men vying for the White House tonight, competing for viewers they're each hoping to turn into voters. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
All right, let's bring in Grant Herms with the Trust Index. Grant, a lot to unpack here from both of these events.
Certainly two very different town halls tonight. The president in his usual bombastic style, which means there was more to test from his town hall as a result. The former Vice President Joe Biden sticking to the policies, a little more aspirational, which means a little more difficult for us to test, but he did have his moments. Now, both candidates also had their records questioned and tested. We're going to start with this one from the president, who said that auto manufacturers have been pouring back into the U.S. and into Michigan during his administration. This is something that we've tested before, and we're going to call it, again, not true. In fact, auto manufacturing was shrinking under the president, and very few plants opened or reopened before the pandemic. On Biden's side, a major sticking point was the '94 crime bill. He said that the Congressional Black Caucus and every black mayor in the country supported that crime bill at the time. We're calling this be careful. While it did have a majority of the Congressional Black Caucus on board with this bill, not every member was there, and it's basically impossible to tell whether every black mayor in the country at the time supported this crime bill. The big takeaways here, though, from this evening, where both men stood on getting out of the coronavirus pandemic, how they plan to restart the economy, and possibly the biggest difference between these two men is the integrity of the upcoming election and the safety of voting by mail. Now, those things that we talked about here are just a couple of the things that I'm looking at. I'll be up all night long to bring full trust indexes on both town halls tomorrow morning on Local 4 News Today. Back to you.
All right, Grant, be sure to join us tomorrow morning for Grant's full report on both town halls. He'll join Local 4 News Today beginning at 5 a.m.
And by the way, both candidates will be making visits to Michigan in the next few days. Today, the Biden campaign announced he will be in Metro Detroit tomorrow to hold two events. The first event is scheduled for 2:30 in Southfield and will focus on health care. And then later, he'll be in Detroit for a voter mobilization event. President Trump will be in Michigan over the weekend, hosting a rally Saturday in Muskegon. Still ahead, a week-long search for a missing West Michigan couple ends in tragedy.
Who is now accused of murdering the couple and hiding their bodies while police and family launched a massive effort to try to find them. Jason.
A driver, no stranger to running from police, pulls a dangerous move. What one officer did to eliminate the threat. That's next.